The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randy, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Instead of wasting the taxpayers' time and money on specious investigations, we could have passed legislation to address surprise medical billing, secure the border, address the opioid epidemic, reduce student debt, and solve a litany of other issues that Americans actually care about.
Okay, here. That's why he's lying. What?
Madam Speaker, I would remind the gentleman that the House has passed over 400 bills, 275 bipartisan bills, driving down costs of health care and prescription drugs, raising wages, rebuilding infrastructure, taking on corruption and self-dealing in Washington. 80% of these bills are languishing on Senator McConnell's desk.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. They need to be under oath. They are literally standing there. There is no defense being presented by anybody in the party of Putin. Nobody in the gang of Putin is making any defense whatsoever. They're not saying he didn't do this and he didn't do that and this didn't happen and that did. They're simply making excuses for why they are voting against holding him accountable for this criminal behavior that he did do. I mean, there's no defense at all. Ted Deutsch from Florida, he laid out all the evidence. I mean, lots of the Democrats laid out cases. I've played you the cases that have been laid out. Jamie Raskin laid out the case on obstruction. Jamie Raskin laid out the case on abuse of power. I've played you clips from the actual hearings, the testimony that was given, that they're parroting Russian intelligence agency talking points about this CrowdStrike server. I mean, they're saying, it was about 8 lines in a phone call. It was not. This was a months-long effort to extort Ukraine into saying the CrowdStrike server. CrowdStrike was owned by a Ukrainian, which it was not. And that they had the server because they did it, not Russia. They hacked, not Russia. I mean, it's a crazy thing. Donald Trump was asking Ukraine to manufacture some sort of a narrative that would get Russia off the hook for committing cyber war against the United States. I mean, it's amazing.
Some say this impeachment is about 8 lines in a call transcript, but there is so much more. This was about a scheme that lasted months and involved dozens of Trump administration officials. Look at the evidence. Look at the direct evidence.
Yeah.
Text messages, emails, calls, and meetings. Way back in May, the president told his team, talk to Rudy Giuliani.
Hello.
The president's message, no White House meeting unless Ukraine helped him in the 2020 election. Ambassador Sondland said there was a prerequisite of investigations into the Bidens, and announcement of investigations was a deliverable. Ambassador Volker said the most important thing for the Ukrainian president to do was to commit to an investigation of the Bidens. Just before the July 25th call, Volker told the Ukrainians, assuming President Z convinces Trump he will investigate, we will nail down a date for a visit to Washington. The direct evidence kept coming after the call, more texts, more emails, more calls, all with the same message. If Ukraine didn't announce an investigation into the president's political rival, then they wouldn't get the White House meeting that they had been promised, and they wouldn't get the aid that they needed in their war against Russia. American presidential power comes from the people through elections. And the Constitution requires that we protect those elections. But when the president abused his power to solicit foreign interference, he was cheating American voters before they even had a chance to vote. President Trump's actions force us to protect our elections and the Constitution. I urge my colleague to defend the Constitution, support these articles of impeachment, and remind the world that in America no one is above the law.
Okay, Ted Deutsch, well done, nicely done. He actually presented the direct evidence. We could play Vindman, testifying to these things. We could play Volker testifying to these things. We could play Sondland testifying to these things. We could play Tim Morrison testifying to these things. We could, On and on and on. There's tons. There's 12 witnesses. All of them tell the same damn story. And here is the party of Putin. Here's their defense of the president. Ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce you to Representative Barry Loudermilk from Georgia.
Before you take this historic vote today, 1 week before Christmas, I want you to keep this in mind. When Jesus was falsely accused of treason, Pontius Pilate gave Jesus the opportunity to face his accusers. During that sham trial, Pontius Pilate afforded more rights to Jesus than the Democrats have afforded this president in this process. I yield back.
Trump is now their Jesus. Because, you know, Trump says, cage thy neighbor. Thou shalt commit adultery and have 5 babies from 3 baby mamas. The meek inherit nothing. The rich run the world. My children inherit everything. What? What?
Mr. Speaker, I'm hearing a lot from my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, except a defense of President Trump's conduct, which is indefensible.
That's what you... I mean, it's such a... This is so bizarre. It is so... It's crazy, and that is why I keep saying to you, you want to solve some of our problems about disinformation, misinformation, being lied to, lying politicians, hacks, losers, lunatics, Debbie Lesko. You know, I mean, this is crazy. Watch.
Actually, articles of impeachment on the floor of the House of Representatives that if it had not been tabled, you actually would have been voting on the floor of the House of Representatives for articles of impeachment against the president. The one that was on December 6, 2017, was because you didn't like that President Trump said something negative about the NFL anthem protest and called a member of Congress wacky, and all nine of you here voted against tabling that.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, if I could just interrupt, I don't think Ms. Scanlon, myself, or Ms. Shalala were members of the House.
Whoops. Awkward. How stupid do you have to be a Republican member of Congress? Debbie, you all voted to impeach. We weren't even in Congress in 2017. With all due respect, my friend from Arizona. Really? And then she said this.
Why is it ever okay for an American president to ask a foreign power to investigate a political rival? Why do you think that's
Why is it ever okay?
He didn't do that.
He didn't do it.
He did not do that. Yes.
He asked President Zelensky to investigate Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden. Why is it okay?
That was because, I think logically, more likely than the Democrat story, is because he wanted to vet out the corruption.
He didn't do that. He didn't ask for investigations into Joe Biden. Well, when he stood on the White House line, he said, what exactly did you want Zelensky to do? Well, I wanted him to open investigations into Biden. How dumb and deaf and blind and completely, partisan. So here's a question. You know, I was gonna do this on Twitter, but I'm not gonna do it because I don't even want to hear it. What is more important, Trump or the Constitution? Which do you protect?